What we're looking at here is a pretty old crane. It's very similar to the one that Sid Hogg had, and Sid was a dragline, of course, and this one's an actual crane for lifting things up and putting things down. But I think we should have a look around this old girl and just see what makes it tick. But just looking at the controls, there's 3 levers on a bit of a shelf, 1, 2, 3 brake pedals, hydraulic everywhere, and it looks like a throttle up there, sort of push a bit of a lever, and a very well satin seat. But first of all, if we just come around the front here, and I'll just look up the look up in between here, there's a winch with a rope on. That's obviously that hook up there is hanging off, but there's another one next to it which got no wires on it at all. But it's just interesting that the drum has got all these little grooves for the wire to go. Come and have a look at this. But it's just interesting that they made drums with those little grooves in them for the makes the wire, I suppose, to sort of stay where it's supposed to be as it goes up and it goes back. Interesting. I think Sid's one had 2 rollers or 2 winches on it like this one. One controlled the boom, the other one controlled the hook. In this case, the bucket. So, what we've got here in the little lineup of levers, on the left it says slew travel. So move that forward. On Sid's one, I go psh, every time you did that. Second one, it says luff, so that's the boom going up and down. Main rope, so if I want to pull the rope up and down, I'm on this one, and the fourth one on the right hand side here says auxiliary rope. So I guess that's the empty container or the empty winch next to the one next door. So if I sit down, so what's on this little dashboard thing here, we've got a temperature gauge, a volts gauge, an oil pressure gauge, and I'm not quite sure what that one is. But anyway, up here there's a bit of a computer. It's probably one of the first computers that they would have put in a crane. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 switches, and up here it says safe, warning, overload. So it's green, orange, red. Next one says permissible load in kgs. Actual load is the next one down, and the one at the bottom, that one there says radius. So I guess that's how far out the jib is, and if you're spinning it tells you where or how far away the jib is from the crane. And on the floor on the left hand side we've got, it looks like a brake, another one with a brake, and one at the bottom. So I suppose you've got your heel and your toe on that, and then we come up higher, there's looks like a brake on that side as well. On my right hand side I've got a bit of a handbrake arrangement, and looks like a throttle on my left hand side as well. And that hook hanging off the end of that jib, I mean, that looks of reasonable size as well, but nowhere near the size of some of the hooks that we've seen on various cranes during our travels. Amazing. Certainly not up there with that old ship crane that weighed 500 ton. But in its time, I'm sure that was a big hook as well. Just looking in the back here, there's a radiator sticking out. I can't quite see the engine, but there's a little panel down there that says NCK, so I was actually right with my guess that it was an NCK, and I guess that's what Sid had, which these levers sort of alluded to, an NCK. But as Sid was saying, it's just an endless job on these things, sort of greasing things, grease sniffles everywhere. You've got to put diesel in it to make it go, oil, everything. So that's something you do before you even start. And of course the track's down there. You sort of move yourself around, and if you've got a job somewhere where it's a bit mushy, you've got to sit on pads. So these big cranes don't actually have stabilizers. They don't have the big foot that comes out and anchors it to the ground, and so you stop it from moving about. They would just relied on the tracks to do that. But it's just interesting. So I can look up. There's a look up right here. This window goes up and down, so if it's raining, of course you've got to put it up. But as David Sales says, I'll do anything for anybody as long as I'm sitting on my ass doing it. And on the back there's a great big square panel that's got little holes all the way through it, all the way up, and that's just for the air to get into that radiator. I'm not sure if that little panel opens, but it doesn't look like it does. So anyway, on the back there's another winch that controls that wire that's way on the top there. So yeah, 1960s. Just behind those sliding doors there is the engine, so I guess you could slide the whole thing around and you can work on the engine. But on the back here we've got these great big heavy counterweights, and there's a number in the middle, and that's that. And on this side it's got a number as well, but it's actually upside down. So this one, maybe this is a right hand one and they've run out of right hand one, so they've stuck this one on the left by turning it upside down. A couple of extra weights on the top. But a lot of the modern cranes, we were talking to a bloke the other day that had a 300-ton mobile crane, and he said they need about 90 tonne on the back of it to sort of counter the big heavy lift. But this in the 60s, I'm sure this would have catered for anything that this thing was going to pick up off the ground, or counterweights. So there you go, an NCK from the 1960s and 70s, somewhere about there. It's sitting here, not doing much these days, and just sitting here enjoying retirement. Good on it. Just over there we've got another mobile crane that's on wheels. It's got stabilizers, and it looked like it might be one of the first hydraulic cranes of this nature. So let's go and have a look at that. DMAG stands for uncompromising quality. As one of the world's leading manufacturers of high performance and reliable industrial cranes, crane components and drives, we offer our customers a comprehensive range of smart solutions for their material flow and logistic needs. Our name is synonymous with maximum safety, reliability and innovation. We provide our customers with smooth processes, maximum efficiency and best results. So, want to find out more? Just call All Crane on 0800 All Crane or check out their webpage www.allcrane.co.nz. With me is Tim Elliott from Kepler Motors in Hamilton, and good on you, Tim. Maybe tell us a little bit about the vehicles you sell.
Right, well, we've got an absolutely amazing range from the GWM Haval product lineup. We start with a small SUV with the Jolian, and we start from that at $27,990 plus on-road costs. We then go through that range. We have 3 models in the Jolian range. We then go into the H6, which is the next size up, your mid-size SUV, and that we actually have 5 models in that range.
Wow.
Yeah, starting from $33,990.
Yeah.
So when you look at the value for money in our range, and we even have right through to a hybrid like our new car behind me here. As well as the SUVs, we have a stunning lineup of the GWM Cannon, which is New Zealand Autocar Magazine's Ute of the Year for 2020.
Wow.
Not only has it come up Ute of the Year because of its build quality, ride quality and safety, now 5-star safety rating in 2021, it is an absolutely amazing package. You don't get the harsh ride that you traditionally get in a ute, but you get all the safety and benefit of having 3 ton towing capacity, up to a ton payload in the back, but also room for your guests in the back of the vehicle if you're taking a few along with you.
With a bit of leg room.
With a bit of leg room and vents in the back so they can get a bit of fresh air as well.
Oh, that's marvellous. Get hold of Tim and I'm sure he'll look after you.
Look forward to hearing from you.
Fassi, an extraordinary crane. So if you need a crane fitted to your truck, either behind the cab or on the back, then Fassi is the crane you need. Fassi can load your truck and trailer as well as unload them. A versatile crane that saves time and money. So to find out about getting your Fassi crane, just call All Crane on 0800 All Crane or check out their webpage at www.allcrane.co.nz.
I would say that this crane probably came from about the 1980s, 90s, thereabouts. It's hydraulic, and we've seen the pieces of the jib sort of extend on other cranes. Looking at these wheels, which are enormous. This is a Tadano crane. It says Tadano right there, and of course we all know about Tadanos. They started building cranes a long time ago. These nuts around the top are just holding this hub on. There's 36 nuts all around there. It's that connects this to the drive, and there's the same at the other wheel. So this thing's 4-wheel drive. The engine is in the middle at the back there, and this will drive along the road. And the engine is also drives the crane, so she's an all-in-one crane, if you like. These stabilizers are absolutely huge, and you push a button and they'll come out, and you put them on a bit of a pad. This one's got a round pad underneath it, and they'll lift up like this is, keep the wheels off the ground, keep it nice and stable, and it can get on with what it does. Let's have a look around the back at the crane part. And on the back, up on the top, they've got a couple of winches, and they're starting to look just a little bit tired and probably got a bit of mould and stuff on them, and they're probably even going rusty, dare I say it. But they both control the 2 hooks that are hanging up the front. There's the main hook, and then there's the auxiliary hook up there as well. But if I get up under here, I might be able to sort of see what's happening. If you look up here, you can see the hydraulic pumps to operate the jib, and also the 2 winches full of wire rope. There's a ladder just here to climb up on board. It says here hydraulic oil, and behind this panel is this enormous, it's absolutely enormous, probably about 80 gallons of, capable of holding 80 gallons of oil. So I guess that's got to drive the hydraulics. I see the winch drums are hydraulically driven as well, so obviously you need a fair bit of hydraulic oil to run this whole thing. Let's go and have a look at the cab. And look at this, twin headlights, blinkers. No, it's locked. But anyway, if I look in here, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and we come round to the side here, 9, 10 switches on the ground there, but on the wall there's a pattern that says how you lift. So of course close to straight up and down is the maximum, and as you get further out, of course, it decreases. So there you go, folks, a 4-wheel drive Tadano crane, hydraulic, gone past its use by date, and there it sits hoping for another job. Now just over there there's an old truck crane, so I think we should have a look at that as well. What we've got here, folks, is a truck with a concrete delivery system on the back. It's like a crane, it all opens up hydraulically and put it out, and then the concrete hose goes down to the job and they pour the concrete. It's got stabilizers on the back, stabilizers just behind the truck there, but the whole thing pretty much operates just like a crane, except it's pumping concrete. I'm not quite sure what the big round thing on the back is. Hard to say. And the truck itself is a Fuso. That took a bit of seeing. But anyway, there's a Fuso rigged up to pump concrete. What we've got here is just your average run-of-the-mill digger, and it's got a boom just like a crane, and although the business up the top there's designed to take a bucket, this has got these two hooks attached to it, and there's two more just up there, so it can sort of lock itself into something that needs to be lifted, but it's not going to lift it all that far, but it is going to lift it, so even a digger has a role as a crane. Isn't that amazing?
After the break, we'll take a look at a Bucyrus Erie's shovel they call Brutus. We looked at it in 2016 while we were in America looking at old trucks and other machinery. It was a very big piece of mining equipment in its day. Tadano have been building cranes since 1956. Tadano is the name in mobile cranes, from 2-axle to 7-axle cranes, as well as track cranes. Tadano, a great choice for crane. So if you're looking for a crane, why not choose Tadano? Tried and true. To find out more, just go to allcrane.co.nz.
On a tide for Ecuador, I'm sure you'll find a worthy man who'll help your mind release. I'll always read your letters, but for now I must have peace. And I'll leave you with these words my jailer said when I was set free. Let the birds fly where they may, it's all the same to me.
The Gecko mini crane without riggers, designed to get into small areas and confined places like stairs, passageways, things like that. Because they don't have a huge setup time, this saves money and time. Gecko, the crane that does all those little jobs in tight places. For more information, check out www.allcrane.co.nz.
Well, here I am in Kansas, standing in this enormous shovel, and the shovel belongs to a huge machine they call Brutus, and Brutus was built about 1962 and stopped work about 1974. But what we're going to do is we're going to have a look inside this big machine and just see what we can see, and a bit of description on what it did and what it weighed and what it costs and all that sort of thing. But just looking at the side of these buckets, you can see where they've done sort of running repairs, if you like, as the time for this machine's gone through. So it's just interesting that you can see all these repairs. So come on, let's go and have a look at Brutus. Big Brutus was built by the Bucyrus Erie company in the early 1960s at a cost of $6.5 million. It was then transported by 150 train wagons to a location where 50 men worked for about a year to fully assemble it. Brutus weighs in at 11 million pounds, that's about 5,500 tonne, and it stands about 6 stories high, which dwarfs anything around it for miles around. The power plant inside Brutus is 15,000 horsepower, which ran this machine 24 hours a day, 7 days a week for 11 straight years until it was shut down for good in April 1974. Brutus isn't the biggest shovel ever built, but it's the largest one in existence. 2 other cranes, the Captain and one called Silver Spade, were bigger, but they were scrapped, making Brutus the biggest in existence today. The Pittsburgh and Midway Mining Company donated Big Brutus in 1984, and it became a museum in West Mineral, Kansas, where it stands today. So everyone can come and take a look at the sheer size of this machine. The shovel has a 90 cubic yard capacity or 135 tons of material. The shovel is controlled by the operator, who sits high above in a room right up inside Brutus. By pushing the dipper all the way out, it can load up to 50 metres away. There are 4 crawlers to move this machine around the quarry. It could move at 0.22 miles an hour. Slow, but it got there. There are 2 sets of tracks on each set of crawlers. Each set has 32 pads, and each pad weighs 1.5 tonne. The pads are 5.5 feet long, and there's 250 pads on each crawler. And each crawler is powered by a 250 horsepower motor. Look at this revolving turntable, and the machine rotated on this. The turntable is 45 foot in diameter, and it's able to rotate 350 degrees. So let's head up these stairs and we'll have a look at what's inside. This is exciting, like coming into the engine room of a ship. Electricity boards everywhere, and what you're looking at here are the mounts for the electric motors that drove the machine. So there were 13 motors that operated the main winch, the swing and the crowd. This is the swing gearboxes that swing the house, each driven by 750 horsepower electric motor, and they're massive. This is the main hoist that operated by DC electric motors, and there was 800 feet of 2-inch wire rope on each side that weighs something like 25 pounds a foot. 25 pounds a foot. This is the operator's station, and sitting here you get a fantastic view of the shovel. This room was air conditioned for the operator, and it was the only air conditioned room in the whole machine. That shovel is capable of digging 20 feet or more into the ground in one scoop. These are the crowd gears for moving the dipper in and out, and these were powered by 2 500 horsepower DC electric motors. Here are some of the special purpose tools they used in this machine. Brutus also has an elevator so that the operator and others could easily get up into the machine and do their respective jobs. These bolts are enormous. Here's the transformer room, some decent sized transformers in there. The transformer room was the main distribution point, and there are 1 or 2 other rooms off to the side full of electrical gear. So in 1974 they shut it down, turned it off, because it was just too uneconomical to continue operating. There's the elevator entrance, call button and all, and a phone to call up and tell people you're coming on up. There's other machinery here, so if you're ever in the USA and would like to see Brutus, it's at a place called West Mineral in Kansas, and that's where it is. And you really need to be by it to appreciate the size of it. So everything about this thing, I think, is just absolutely enormous and absolutely amazing. So Bucyrus was an engineering company that built shovels. And you might be interested to know that Bucyrus supplied probably about 120 of these shovels in the 1900s when they built the Panama Canal. So there were lots and lots of Bucyrus shovels working that. I think it took something like 5 or 6 years to build. But anyway, it was just interesting to know that Bucyrus built all sorts of machines for all around the world, as well as some of the biggest in the world. So there you go, old Brutus sitting here quietly waiting for you to come and see it. Finally, while I was there, I asked around the locals and somebody came up with this old footage. So here's old Brutus doing a day's work back in the day. So enjoy this and we'll see you all again next week.